handed it off to the bullpen, sat down, got a second win. By the way, ERA still under 1 for Brady Singer. Another reason to be excited about yesterday. So I don't know what to tell you, brother. It's it's wild. And I had a charity event last night, and people were buzzing about the Royals.
Good.
I've had that charity event the last couple of years. I said, you know what? This is not something that I've said the last couple of years, but how about them Royals? How about those Royals? People are all fired up. Why wouldn't they be? 13-3, held Houston to a field goal. Great defense.
Yeah. A couple things, what you're talking about, you mentioned getting impatient with Bobby Witt Jr. or doubting. When he got off to I don't know what you want to call it, not a great start last year. Where I was with him was I was thinking about the two biggest prospects I can remember in the post-George Brett era for the Royals, Johnny Damon and Alex Gordon. And they got done the disservice of being compared to George Brett, right? Early, before they haven't even a chance to establish themselves as big leaguers. And they both went on to have very good major league careers, right? Johnny Damon played for all sorts of winning teams. He got close to 3,000 hits. He made it to the All-Star game twice. He was in the MVP voting a few times, but never finished higher than 13th. Alex Gordon, of course, won a bunch of Gold Gloves, one of the biggest hits in team history. Local hero, all that. But those guys didn't rise to the level of superstar, MVP caliber player, that George Brett is almost impossible to reach. And the reason that, and so I started to worry last year, maybe he's just going to be really, really good. And that would have been fine. But
maybe the lesson is stop comparing people to George Brett.
Well, that's a huge lesson. And he really hasn't had to deal with that. But everybody, even George Brett, would talk about, I remember when we talked to George about Bobby Witt Jr. when they drafted him and the comps he was making. And so you're like, okay, is this guy really going to be one of the best players in all of baseball, like a superstar, like a full-on five-tool player? And by the time last year was over, I think most felt like, okay, yep, yeah, he is. But about halfway through last season, I think there was a definite part of me going, maybe he's just going to be really, really good. And we'll be disappointed, maybe he'll just be really, really good. But he's more than that.
And for people that overdid it, you're like, he's got to, there's got to be more than this. Even though he's good, there's got to be more than this.
Yeah.
Too many people that know what they're talking about. There's going to be more. And then you're waiting, there's going to be more. And then when it clicks, like, oh, boy, there really is more.
Yeah.
And then you see it, because even, like, he was terrific in the second half last year, but even now, watching, was like, oh, my God. Oh, boy.
But it felt like when he started getting great second half of last year, you started going, he's putting it together. We're seeing it. And like you said, now you don't even want to put a limit on him. Yeah. There's no fear of, is he one of the best players in baseball? Yeah. How great? We will have to wait and see.
Here's the deal. And this is, I always remember this, and this is how you measure, because there have been very few people in Royals history that have fit this bill. When George Brett was playing, you couldn't miss in a bat.
Yeah, yeah.
My grandpa, I remember being at my grandpa's house and on Sundays. We'd watch the game, and sometimes you watch baseball and you're doing other things, and barbecue, whatever else. Brett's up, Brett's up, Brett's up, get up here. Everyone run to the TV, watch George Brett. Okay, back to what you're doing. All right, at home, I'd be outside in the yard. My mom, Steven, George Brett's up. I'm running, running down Jackson. Up the stairs. It's 2-1. Where were you? I got a double. I got to go back out there and play kickball.
Yeah.
My dad's home. My dad worked nights at Ford Motor. Steve, wake up, George. My dad.
Why don't you tell me when he was on deck?
He walked. What the That's but that's what we're gonna get to. Bobby Witt Jr.'s up. Steven, wake up!
The question that I got the other night, and I know you've gotten, is are the Royals for real? You made a point that when you get off to a start like this, you can ride it for a while. The team I think about was the 2003 team, because that team was kind of fluky. They had some good pieces.
That was smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, and they got off to a 9-0 start. And even though that was smoke and mirrors, they rode that to relevance all the way through September. And they ended up finishing above 500 that year and in the playoff race. Now, this team, I don't think is nearly as fluky as that team because they have a rotation. That rotation was they were throwing whatever they get, Renelvis Hernandez, and they were digging up Jose Lima, that was probably an inappropriate way to say it, but they scrounged around and found a Jose Lima.
Even Drake was offended by that.
I didn't, come on, man.
What? Don't even come on me. What are you?
I didn't. I just meant they found Jose Lima off the scrap heap at the time. They found a bunch of guys that just kind of they put out there and got as much out of them as they could. But there's like a real rotation here. I don't know where it can go. I don't know how good they can be, but I think this is less smoke and mirrors than that team was. And that team was able to ride a red hot start to relevance the whole season. Right. So, yeah, we're going to be in for a fun summer. I think it's fair to say that already.
How about they signed Jose Lima?
They signed Jose Lima off the street.
Royals win 13-3. They've won 7 in a row. They're 9-4. Can you believe it? Back after this on Sports Radio 810 WHP. Welcome back to the Border Patrol on Sports Radio 810 WHB. And I mentioned last night that I had a charity event. I want to thank the people from Pouring from the Heart from the UMKC Dental School. And we were there last night. I emceed their wonderful gala to raise much-needed funding for patients of the UMKC School of Dentistry, basically being able to help kids and being help people that normally wouldn't be able to afford much-needed dental work. And it truly changes lives. It was awesome last night. I had a chance to see this wonderful video of how this young girl in Kansas City was helped by this great event, and so it was awesome. And as a UMKC grad, it's cool that the dental school brings me in to MC this event. Also saw Dr. Nick, Nate, isn't that right? The former your former dentist. That I took the picture with him last year. Was it Dr. Nick? He said he was your dentist. And we said,
Rogers, Nick Rogers, yeah, Jolly Rogers. Sorry, he was always Dr. Rogers to me because I was a kid. He was my dentist in Ark City, Kansas. Yes.
I was like, is this man lying about being?
Yeah.
Nick?
I just never thought of him as Nick.
I don't know.
He was
That's a weird flex.
right. He came to
Yeah.
Nick Rogers, and they were
Yeah.
calling him Dr. Nick. So I thought I'd say Dr.
I always
Nick
called him
to you.
Jolly Rogers because he was the happiest man, always the biggest smile on his face.
He's great.
Huge smile
He
on
was
his
at the
face
front
at all
table.
times.
He had,
Yeah.
absolutely came up and said, "Be
Yeah.
sure to say hello to Nate."
Yeah.
Because
Wonderful.
I remember him.
Wonderful family
And
too.
I guess he-
Wonderful family.
know.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dr. Nick.
The whole Rogers family. His granddaughter and my daughter Ophelia have hung out together quite a bit. When my daughter Ophi would go down to the farm in Ark City.
He was a great
hang out.
guy,
Yeah,
pleasant
wonderful
guy,
man.
and he was there. And
Yeah.
you looked like I had.
Whatever
lying to you
positive
just now.
thoughts people might have in their minds about small town America, Dr. Rogers is the person that you'd have in your mind.
There you go.
Friends with everybody in the community, took care of everybody.
He was the life of the
Big
party
smile
last
on
night.
his face. Yeah, always a great guy.
So down at the Western Crown Center, it was awesome. It was a beautiful event.
That's fantastic.
Stan Weber joins us. Stan, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning to you. And Nate did a good job of confirming that you're talking about the same guy. So I'm
Right.
very impressed.
I was like, Dr. Nick.
me a
He
second.
didn't
He
just
said he was
that
your
was not-
dentist. I'm like,
At first, it could have been acting. Oh yeah,
yeah.
and
And he's
but
looking at
then when
me
you guys
and-
talked about different aspects about him that neither of you had talked about before, great proof you're talking about the same guy.
like, how many dentists does this guy have? Like, how many? What do you?
Yeah, well, because the only dentist I've had here over the last 20 years has been
Right.
Kevin Catania,
Right.
Seren Petro's buddy that they all called Bubby.
Right. It would be weird if he referred to
Yeah.
himself as Dr. Nick. but,
Yeah,
you
and
know.
I was like, I'm pretty sure his name's Kevin.
Right. Glad we
But,
got to the bottom of that.
Yeah,
Fox told him he has to go to the dentist every month
Right.
now.
yeah, yeah.
There's
we
some
gotta
beautiful
This is
teeth
on
in the
big
crowd
time
last night.
TV.
take care of those teeth.
I
Yeah,
promise you that. A lot of flossing done
yeah.
last night.
Well, chompers.
How about those Royals?
Did Carl
Stan.
Peterson say that? How about those
That's
Royals?
exactly
Yeah.
right. Back in the day.
That was the 2003 season when he said that.
Yeah, he loved him. you
Yeah.
know.
Am I the only guy who says they should
About
be?
those Royals, huh?
Oh, there we go. Drake, right on it.
Boom.
That they should be 9-2.
Right. But hey,
There's so many smiles on our face because of what they've done.
You
It's
mean
amazing.
11 and 2?
11-2.
Yeah.
Yes, 9-4 now.
Right.
11-2.
Yeah. I mean, they had chances in Baltimore,
They
but
should have won 2 of those games
Yeah.
for sure.
maybe sometimes you go through tough losses. And
But
that,
the game,
you know.
the comeback against Houston was pretty good, down 3-0. So
Oh, yeah.
that kind of trades it back off a little
Oh
bit.
yeah. No, they've
No, it's
had
been a lot
some-
of fun.
Yeah.
To sweep a 4-game series is a big deal. Then not everyone. Some people say, well, it's just the Chicago White Sox. You didn't win. They just lost. They're so awful. But then the Houston Astros come into town, and you sweep them as well. So it's so much fun to watch. The stadium looks beautiful on TV. The play has been unbelievable, and I just want to. I hope people aren't stabbing you on the side or anything. Steven, seems like you're upset with somebody about Bobby Witt Jr. when I was driving in, that you weren't happy with some people talking about Bobby Witt inappropriately. So
Seemed like I was
it
really
Nate?
excited about Bobby Wood Jr.
I know, but you were talking while people doubted him or something. So I thought
Well, no, I
maybe that
included-
was Nate.
I included myself too.
Okay.
I mean, there just people were impatient with him, and we're so quick to jump off somebody's bandwagon. But
Well, the whole
You
team,
know.
the whole team is just. Whew.
I guess the point to me, I don't being impatient or jumping off the bandwagon. I'm trying to underscore to me how hard it is to be truly great. You know, how hard it is to be like an MVP caliber player. You know, the difference between a guy that's an all-star and an MVP. And we've had other players have that.
It's a bigger difference than a regular player and an all-star.
Yes, much bigger. A much bigger difference. And that's where, like, I felt like, well, we got so much hype on some other guys before. And it was almost like, oh, it's a disappointment that Johnny Damon was only a multiple-time All-Star and stuff because he didn't become a Hall of Famer, you know, or, you know, a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I just wondered if we got did we just overhype this kid? Did we put too much pressure on him to where we're going to be disappointed if he goes to the All-Star game 6 or 7 times but doesn't ever win an MVP? You know, and that's
to add
all.
to that, you didn't know if he's even going to be able to play shortstop, right?
Yeah, they were trying to find
player,
out.
but
Yeah.
Could he actually be a everyday shortstop?
That was one of the they said
because he's kind of like that Cal Ripken, bigger dude.
Yeah. They said when the Royals people I talked to last year, when it was a big year of evaluation, the number one thing they wanted to have decided by the end of last year was, is he a shortstop? Or should we move him to center field or third base? Because going into it, the year before, the number said he was probably a below average defensive shortstop. And then by the end of last year, it was, yeah, he was a shortstop.
God, there were some hot takes out there. I remember a bunch of people thought he should be moved to center field.
People in the Royals organization wondered it. You know, they wanted to know last year if
that was a bigger question answered, because we could be patient with his speed and hitting ability, but where was he going to be a plus fielder?
Yeah.
And shortstop?
Yeah.
And then he's answered that question. I mean, I don't want to take that for granted. I thought that was
huge.
The biggest question, because just trying to fit him in, you don't have to be negative about it, because we here have had a good experience with Alex Gordon, who turned into such an unbelievable left fielder when that wasn't his position. It was third base. So it ended up not being a disappointment. Like, well, he hit really well throughout his career. It's too bad he wasn't a great fielder. He ended up answering the question. So I don't think Royals fans are probably overly nervous that, oh, we can't find a spot on the field for him. It's all going to be about the offense. But to pick up a critical position like that and have him be able to play that every day, and being around those kind of athletes, you know, your quarterbacks a lot of times want to be your shortstop. Does that make sense? And for Bobby Witt to be your best player, all of those things, Salvador Perez is obviously the captain and that kind of mentality for the Royals now. But going forward, Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be the Patrick Mahomes around the clubhouse. He's going to be the leader just by actions and connectivity with the other guys. I'm telling you, those guys take much better if they're the shortstop.
Yeah.
Rather than another position. Does that make sense? It's almost like
it's always your catcher, your
triple.
shortstop.
It's like triple the value that he's a great player and the shortstop. And it's comforting. More for themselves, I think, than the others around them. Because when you're a great player, you know, most of the best players in a sophomore in high school want to be a quarterback. If they can achieve that goal. Now, if you weigh 320 pounds and you're the best offensive lineman, you're not going to do it. But most kids think about, if I'm the best athlete, I want to be the quarterback. I think baseball players, a lot of them say, I want to be the shortstop if you got the capability to do it. So it's amazing to me that question has been completely answered for him.
Michael Garcia is a shortstop, but he's such a good athlete and such a good fielder. He was able to go to third base to make room for Bobby Witt Jr., and he's a hell of a third baseman.
He's done a great job of converting, because it's different over there, right?
Yep.
I mean, they're not the same positions. So it's so impressive. I can't believe all the people that are so excited. All my buddies love him. You know, he's one of their favorite players. One of the things that excites me is when you guys bring the name up of James Shields.
Yeah.
You know, I thought he was the guy that turned the Royals into the 14 and 15 winners that they were.
He was.
That he was the. I mean, there's a lot of things that had to happen. Salvador Perez be great, and a lot of things. Haas, but I thought his bringing a different attitude and not being scared to lose, celebrating winning, expecting winning. In baseball, you have individuals, I think, that they can play together and hate each other. Yankees throughout the years sometimes, right? But for him to bring the connectivity like a football team, I thought that was great. And sometimes you guys, I hear you talking about different players saying, you know, reminding us of that same type of locker room effect, team effect. And we take for granted what Salvador Perez does. he's such a given that you don't give him more credit. He can't make the Royals take that next step. So it just excites me when I hear you guys talking about the Royals and saying you're feeling some of that with this team. I go, whoa. To me, that is the magic potion.
I had somebody I talked to this week that's been around the team and said just being a fly on the wall and listening to some of the conversations between some of the veteran starting pitchers and some of the young starting pitchers and some of the veteran players and some of the young players, they haven't heard those type of conversations and that type of chemistry and camaraderie since James Shields was in the clubhouse. And that's
you guys
exactly the
have
name they
mentioned
used.
it over the last couple of weeks, and every time you say that, I am going, that is a difference maker.
And I was told,
now, I wonder what Mike Boddicker thinks. Hopefully he's listening, because I go, Mike knows better than me, but that sounds good to me when I hear anything about those conversations. You don't have to have it to be a good baseball team, but when you're a small market team and you're a team that's lost 100 games and it's not easy and you're trying to transition, I think those things they vault you tremendously. We talk about in football a lot. Patrick Mahomes' play on the field has been amazing, but the other stuff that he's done behind the scenes of creating order and sense of purpose and everything else makes the Chiefs the most dominant franchise in all of athletics, right? Not just a good team that might win a Super Bowl, the best team. And so I'm very excited about not just Bobby Witt playing well and what Salvador Perez, I love what he's always brought. I think catchers can help pitchers and all of that, but this other stuff really gives you hope that this 9-4 start is the real deal.
Yeah, and also when we evaluate what he does on the field, because he's off to a little bit of a rough start, we also have to factor in, again, in the offseason I was told one of the main reasons they brought in Will Smith, the relievers, because they thought he could have a James Shields-like effect in the clubhouse. He's that kind of guy. And so those are important things that we don't always see on the field when we talk about constructing a roster and team building. And so far, it looks like those things were right on the money that the Royals were looking for in free agency in the offseason. We'll take a break. Back after this on WHB. Welcome back to the Border Patrol on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm talking about the Royals. It's kind of bizarre now. Their series now against the New York Mets. So, I mean, certainly a team they can handle. But I guess it just depends on if you're a fan or not of interleague baseball. But I don't care who they play right now, because you get to that point where if the Royals are really, really bad, it's like you're watching the game depending on who the opponent is. Now, I don't care. I'm there to watch the Royals, but it is a little bit interesting that this next series we get a chance to see them against the New York Mets tonight in New York. Michael Wacha on the mound, another pitcher that has looked so good early on after the Royals signed him via free agency, and so.
Do the service for everybody. It is Friday, and you guys are a big source of information to everybody. Do you have the times for the weekend? So, because the Royals are playing tonight, so well that this becomes part of your planning for the weekend.
How about, Nate, how about the people that say they can't watch the Royals? I had another guy tell me that last night. I said, Nate Buakty would scream at you right now.
You can watch the Royals.
Because Nate acts like $100 is
$100 is nothing.
Right, that's exactly
like
right.
a penny. Here,
I will say this.
He might toss me a penny right now.
His allergies.
It'll be a $100 bill.
He's had allergies all week, right? He blew his nose with a $100 bill yesterday
Right, that's what
and
I
threw
do.
it away. I
Yeah.
said, that's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's disposable income to me.
I fished it out of there, cleaned it up, and I got it in my wallet now.
Yeah.
I would not minimize what $100 is to anybody, but I would say with the way things are going right now, you go out to eat fast food twice with your family, and that's
Is
$100.
that healthy?
I mean, that's
When Nate doesn't do it, he's telling other people to do
that's
it.
what we do.
Nate's a health
Trust me,
guy.
we do it way more than I would like because we're running from one thing to the next, and then we go by a fast food place, and I'm like, "God, that was that expensive." That's how much. So it's
that is surprising, by the way, because I don't go there with my kids aren't at the age that drop by the fast food spot as much as I used to.
Oh, you're dropping $50 if you
I walk in there and I go.
to eat.
I mean,
Easy.
We eat no place under $50.
I mean, it ain't
it's
happening.
amazing.
And then it fills there. We eat no place under $75.
Right. No, like if my middle school son has a buddy with him, I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna.
Used to be like, come on, bring your buddy, bring a couple friends.
Yeah.
So now you're like, wait a second.
Just to put it into that kind of perspective, you go out to eat twice with your family, you're dropping more than this. It's what you decide if you want to spend it. I'm not telling anybody how to spend the money, but you can watch them if you spend the money on the app. You
don't
can
have
watch
to
all
have
their
cable.
games.
That's
no,
what you're
you
trying
don't have
to
to
say.
have cable subscription.
There are options.
I want to do an experiment with you. I want you to feed Phil for a week and then come back and tell me.
I don't.
And report. Tell me just exactly what your emotions are.
I'll probably come crying into
it's
the studio.
unbelievable, but it's also shocking to see.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
and then you're driving home, and he's like, "I'm hungry."
Right. Right.
We just ate 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
The rule, like my dad. Hey, if you order it, you eat it. It's fine.
Right.
Oh, that's never okay.
That's an easy rule.
Really? That's it?
Right.
Okay, so tonight, 6:10 p.m. first pitch, and then now this is good. On Saturday and Sunday, it is a 12:40 first pitch.
Perfect.
That works well with the Masters.
Yeah, works well with the Masters. Works well. What time's Sporting?
7:30
versus Messi.
Yeah,
and then works
Arrowhead.
well with UFC 300.
There you
I
go.
got a question about Messi.
Okay.
I heard an ad done by Nate Buakty in a real professional ad voice.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like you pronounced his first name differently than everybody else does. Who's
What did
right?
I say? Lionel?
Everyone on TV, don't they say Lionel Messi?
It depends on people.
This is a big deal now. This is your guy.
If you want to say it the way he says his name, it's Lionel.
Okay, that's what you said on the ad, and I
Yeah.
go, whoa, you're the only person I've ever heard say that.
That's
and
how
that means that everyone else is wrong.
Not necessarily. I mean, look, if you go to another, it's like, is it Angel Baroa or Angel Baroa? Where he was born and the way he said his name his whole life was Angel. When he moved to the United States, people started saying Angel because that's how you would say it in English, and he just kind of started calling himself Angel. Some people don't care
What would
about
you call
that
him?
stuff. Angel.
Even though he calls himself Angel.
I would call him however he wants to be called. In general, I'd try to call
But what's
somebody.
Messi want to be called?
I feel like
I've never had a chance to ask him.
a lot of people call him Angel Baroa.
A lot of people did, but one of the persons that was always a big debate. A lot of broadcasters called him
Right.
Angel, but Tony Pena, who was from the Dominican Republic like him, called him Angel. Who's right, who's wrong? that's a huge debate in
Well,
the
I just
world
wanted to
where
bring
I
that
live.
up because I heard you say it, and
Yeah.
I go, I'm trusting Nate on this.
Yeah.
That means everyone else I've heard is wrong. Now I've only heard like 10 people. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not. I don't know that anybody's wrong.
is he
because
going to play tomorrow?
I believe he is going to play. I've been told by people he's going to play.
But you won't tell us who the people are.
Right. But I don't. You know, the only person that really can say is his coach, Tata Martino.
What's Tata say?
He has. I don't think he's spoken yet.
When do they
publicly about
usually
it.
announce that they are
You know,
going to play or not? When is it real good information in the soccer
the only
world?
time it's official is an hour before kickoff. They put out the roster.
Okay.
But
So when you're in the parking lot, there may be a tweet come out.
yeah, an hour before the game or so there will be. But he might, Martino, the manager, sometimes will come out and say, "Look, he's not playing on Sunday or Saturday because he's got a hamstring injury. We're not going to play him." Sometimes, just like in any other sport, the manager will be a little cagey about it, and we don't know. It's a game time decision because they don't want the other team to have the benefit of the problem that they run into. And I did this. I broadcasted the play-by-play of a couple of Messi's preseason games when they went around the world to try to make money back on all the money they're paying him. And they went to Hong Kong and played a game there, and he didn't play. And they didn't say anything. They didn't announce it beforehand or anything. And 60,000 people paid a whole bunch of money in Hong Kong.
You better play,
And
bro.
now the Chinese government is saying that Argentina can never come play a game there again. They've said they're not allowed to come play there anymore because they're so mad that nobody gave them a heads up that Messi wasn't going to play in that game. So they're trying to be a little more open about it up front, like, hey, he's not going to play tomorrow, you know. But
You know who else was named Tata?
who's that?
Pablo Escobar's wife.
Well, I don't know what to tell you about that.
Tata.
You
watch
establish Nate's established that $100 is no big deal, but what is the
Right.
scene going to be like if he doesn't play
Oh,
tomorrow?
it's going to
after
be. It's not
people-
going to be
Mass
pretty.
hysteria.
Yeah, it's not going to be pretty. I
A
mean,
lot of people are going to point the finger at Nate Buakty.
'Cause
see, you're
he
encouraging that.
I'm not
and I don't.
encouraging, I'm
'cause
telling you.
you promoted it.
I'm telling you. I'm not encouraging it. I'm just telling you what's going to happen.
Well, he said today
I'm a
he's
truth
going to
teller.
play.
I believe he's going to play. I can't promise you that. I can't guarantee that to anybody.
What's the over/under in amount of time he has to play to be acceptable? Just like 10 minutes?
I think if he comes in for 20 minutes, everybody
that's
would
fair.
be satisfied.
Yeah.
Usually in soccer, the subs come in somewhere between the 60th and 70th minutes, so they usually play 30 to 20 minutes as a
How
sub.
mad
Not
these
always.
people will be like if he doesn't start and you're waiting for him to sub and waiting's getting
Yep.
deeper and deeper and deeper. Like
That's what happened in the game I called that
They'll
was
be
in Hong
yelling
Kong.
his name, right?
Yeah. Oh, they started chanting his name.
Do they go,
and then the
we
chants,
want him, or do
Messi,
Messi,
Messi, Messi,
Messi.
and then all of a sudden, when he's not warming up with the other
Right.
guys, the chants turn into boos, and then the next thing you know, the boos are getting louder and louder, and then people are darn near protesting in the stadium.
Let's not have that.
Yeah, I don't think that will happen.
Tata, if you're listening,
I think he's
please,
going to play.
Put Messi in early.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. Back after this on WHB.